Hey, this is Stephen Duggan, co-founder of the Hemorrhoid Academy, and in this video I'm going to cover how you can get rid of your hemorrhoids naturally without surgery by reducing inflammation in your body. And obviously that's part of an element of it. It's not a guarantee that you'll relieve yourself of hemorrhoids just by reducing inflammation, but in this video I want to cover just how important it is to understand inflammation and to uncover what the connection with hemorrhoids is. So when you get to a point where you have hemorrhoids, wherever you are on that scale, whether it's just starting out as a discomfort with itching and discomfort, or you're at a stage 4 level where they're external and you're in extreme discomfort and pain, with that in mind, you're dealing with chronic inflammation. So what is chronic inflammation? So inflammation is when you literally have an overflow of inflammation producing histamine, and it's impacting your adrenal glands and your endocrine system in your body. It's basically a signal to your body that there is an underlying root cause of inflammation. And one very common cause of inflammation is the food that we eat, because the food that you eat can either be the most powerful form of medicine or the most powerful poison that you consume in your life. And over the course of these videos, we're going to talk a lot about reducing inflammation in the body. In this video, I'm going to specifically talk about food, but it can also be too much stress in your life from whatever source, or not getting enough sleep, or different things that you could be doing. But hemorrhoids is the end symptom. And what we're trying to really communicate in this series of videos at the Hemorrhoid Academy is you need to start addressing the root cause. So the problem with most traditional treatments for hemorrhoids, and indeed any autoimmune issue or ailment that someone has, right, is the medical profession is trained to look at how do they fix that end symptom. So they give you creams, they give you steroids, and ultimately as you escalate up the ladder of treatments in hemorrhoids, it could mean surgery. Now, that's something that if you do the right things at the right time can be avoided. And one of these is reducing inflammation in the body. So what is stress response? Okay, we're designed as human beings to be in normally a non-stressed environment, but stress in a certain circumstance can be useful and helpful. So the traditional example I give is a saber-toothed tiger. Back hundreds and thousands of years ago, when we were under attack from a tiger or a predator that we thought was going to attack us, we get this surge of adrenaline. The blood starts pumping to our muscles. We're on high alert. The body is literally taking all that blood away from non-essential organs such as the heart, the lungs, and the digestive tract, and it's sending that energy, that momentum to our muscles so that we can run away. But that was designed to be a very short period in time, literally to escape from that predator. But if you think of modern life, we're in a permanent state of stress. We get up, the alarm is ringing, we have to get downstairs and get the breakfast ready, get out. We're straight away, you get the idea. We're stressed from morning to night. And one of the main stressors is the foods that we're eating. And the impact that this has in our body is, over time, if you're exposing yourself consistently and continuously to stress, the body starts to break down, and that can manifest itself specifically in things like hemorrhoids. So what do you do if you've got hemorrhoids and you think that food and the food that you're eating and how it's interacting with your body might be causing you discomfort? And how might you know that, right? A simple test is, how do you feel after you eat something? Do you feel energized? Do you feel that nourished you, or do you feel that it drained you? Like when you have your lunch, do you feel full of energy, or do you feel you need a coffee or something sweet? If you feel that you need a coffee or you're getting a dip in energy, that's actually not really working for you. So that's just a simple signal, okay? But what you need to do is you need to identify the triggers that are causing inflammation in your body, because they're creating a fire. Each time you eat one of these things like seed oils or ultra-processed foods or excessive alcohol or red meat or excessively spicy foods, you're causing this overflow of inflammation. So I'm going to go through each one of these and explain why they're so important, okay? Now, if you're in a state where you're not in an overflow of inflammation, of course you can eat these things from time to time, but this is to address people that are at a point where they're considering surgery, or they've got chronic discomfort, or they're trying all of the commonly available products in the pharmacy and they're not getting long-term relief. It's because you're not addressing the root cause. With everything that we teach at the Hemorrhoid Academy, it's about understanding the root cause, because that is what medicine 3.0 is about. So medicine 1.0 is all about washing our hands and disinfectants. Medical 2.0, which is the medicine system that most of us have been brought up on, is all about fixing the end cause. That's the steroid cream, that's the antibiotic, that's the whatever you've been given to treat your hemorrhoids, for example, to date, right? But it doesn't address the root cause. And that's where medical 3.0, as it's now being termed, is coming into play. And that's all about looking at the body in its totality. Because if you've got an ailment like hemorrhoids, it could be because of inflammation. It could also be because of stress. It could also be a lack of sleep. It could also be, there's just so many reasons and potential root causes. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with that as a concept, but if you watch all of the videos in this series, you'll get a very, very deep understanding of what might be causing your hemorrhoids. And if you implement what we're teaching in these videos systematically, you'll definitely see a reduction in what's causing it, which can often manifest. And indeed, if you follow our protocol to the T, it eliminates in all cases the hemorrhoid problem. So seed oils, refined sugars and carbs, why do they cause inflammation in the body? Well, seed oils, as we commonly known, that's soya oil, it's canola oil, it's sunflower seed oil, it's all of these pumpkin seed oils that have become popular as a edible oil in your supermarket. Well, they look lovely. They have that golden brown, liquid look that you would think is a natural impact of those seeds being pressed. But that's actually not the case at all. When they press those seeds, it comes out as a black, gooey texture that then has to be processed, where additives are introduced into it, discolorants, to give it that beautiful golden brown color. And what that means is it's ultimately not in its natural state. The other problem you have with seed oils is when you heat them above a certain level, they change state and they become extremely pro-inflammatory, unlike things like coconut oil or butter or lard, or basically oils that are derived from animal fats, cooking oils. So seed oils are really to be eliminated if you're in a point of chronic inflammation. Then refined sugars, again, is very pro-inflammation. When you eat sugars or refined carbs, and that's white pasta or white bread or anything that's going to be digested very quickly, because once you ingest a carbohydrate or a sugar, the body doesn't know any different. It's a sugar, and it's going to cause your blood sugar to spike, which is going to cause the body to have to release insulin, and that over time can lead to becoming insulin resistant or even type 2 diabetes. But in any event, it's causing a lot of stress and inflammation in the body. The next one to avoid is ultra processed foods. So the typical American diet at this stage is 80% ultra processed foods. And what does that mean? It's food that is not in its natural environment. It's in a packet, it's in a tin, it's in a can, it's in a whatever environment you find it in. And if you look at the back of the label, you've got 20 plus ingredients plus all the additives. If that's what you're looking at, it's an ultra processed food. Chances are, if it's a pre-made food, to a large degree, unless you're buying it from an organic store or a reputable manufacturer, it's an ultra processed food. And anything like crisps or chips or dips, these are ultra processed foods. If you take Pringles, for example, there's no potatoes in Pringles. It's a completely synthetic, man-made product, specifically engineered to keep you eating. You can't stop popping. You know the ad that they used to have? That is specifically designed, engineered in a laboratory to give you that crisp, to basically put on hold your satiation device. So you just keep eating and eating these pro-inflammation causing foods. So anything ultra processed, you need to eliminate completely from your diet. The next one is alcohol. Again, in moderation. If you're in a state of low inflammation, it's fine. But if you're in chronic inflammation, and especially if you've got hemorrhoids, reducing alcohol. Now, if you have to drink, think white spirits, think tequila, good quality vodka, good quality gin. Avoid cheap liquors, avoid liquors that have got caramel flavorings and different sugar flavorings, coffee and chocolate and what have you. Think no beer, because it's full of gluten, it's full of sugar, it's full of additives. Same with wine, it's full of tannins, it's full of sugars. And these are all, as I've been explaining, pro-inflammation causing foods. The next one then is excessive red meat. So try and eat lean, white meats, try and eat fish. If it works for you, think of pulses, legumes. It doesn't work for everyone, doesn't work for me, to be honest with you. Try and eliminate super spicy foods. You know, if you're someone that loves putting lots of chilies or lots of spice in your food, just dampen it down a bit. Ironically, certain spices are really good. Cayenne pepper in moderation is very good. Turmeric is a natural anti-inflammatory. Any type of herbs and spices like, you know, oregano, rosemary, basil, thyme, you can put as much of that as you want. If you're going to have something spicy, add turmeric to it. That's going to reduce the amount of inflammation causing properties of that. So these are the foods that you need to avoid. The second thing that you want to do is you want to eat to heal. As I said at the outset of this video, what you put into your body can either be the most powerful form of medicine or the most powerful form of poison. So obviously I've given you a backdrop of what not to do, which should give you some idea of what you should be doing. Now, it is super overwhelming sometimes when you think of what should I or what am I allowed or not allowed to eat. Well, the simple analogy that I give is think of the edge of the supermarket. When you walk into the supermarket, typically what you'll find is the fresh fruit and vegetable section. Anything in that section is generally good to go. Obviously, if you've got a lot of inflammation, be careful about the amount of peeled fruits and what have you that you eat. But by and large, most people can eat almost any type of fruit and veg. The next thing then is good quality meats, lean meats, like I mentioned, good quality fishes, and red meat in moderation is fine. But once you start veering into the middle aisles and the canned foods and the packaged foods and the pastas and the rices, that's when you're veering into trouble, okay? Then what you want to do is try and eat anti-inflammatory causing foods. So their foods, think of rich in color. Think, even though it's a nightshade, tomatoes and aubergine are actually full of nutrients that reduce inflammation. Think of good quality vegetables and fruits, and berries in particular are extremely good as anti-inflammatories. Blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, any type of berry, really, really good for reducing inflammation in the body. Next thing you want to eat is healthy fats. So what are healthy fats, right? If you're not going to cook them or cook them beyond a very hot state, olive oil, avocado oil, cold pressed. It's really important that when you look at the back of the bottle, it's a cold pressed oil. It's not a refined oil, because often the labels are very misleading, especially when it comes to olive oil. If you see mechanically extracted, it's being heat treated, which means it's already rancid. So you want cold pressed oils from good quality sources. If you're going to cook, use ghee, use butter, use coconut oil, and lard is also a very good way of using oils for cooking. So the next thing is fermented foods. Your gut is inherently linked to how you digest and absorb food, and it's a very sensitive thing. The gut lining is only 1 cell thick. It's also populated with microorganisms that are full of beneficial bacteria and microorganisms. And when you eat fermented foods, you're populating those microorganisms with beneficial bacteria that is basically helping you digest and absorb your food more effectively in the gut. Broths are an amazing way also of getting nutrients into the body. Bone broth, chicken bone, beef broth, and you can get these in any good quality store, health store local to you. So these are foods that you can eat in abundance, and they're going to reduce inflammation down in your body. The key thing here when I talk about anti-inflammation diets is to be consistent. You know, surprisingly, if you look at the way that you consume food, right, you eat far less variety than you actually think. You know, you might have, you know, different types of meals, but often the core ingredients is very similar. So consistency around this is important. Plan out your meals. Put this stuff into ChatGPT and ask it to do you a 7 or a 28-day low inflammation meal plan. If you've got certain intolerances, which I'll talk about later, you can even ask it to give you a lactose or a gluten-free diary and a shopping plan. Take anything out of your pantry that's pro-inflammation, ultra-processed foods, bad quality oils. Take those chips out, because willpower is not going to get you through this. You have to be systematic in how you approach this. If you're going to travel, prepare ahead. Either pack a lunch or know that there's going to be somewhere where you can get a good quality meal. Because if you're taking this seriously, you don't want that to become another stressor in your life. I've been there. You're traveling through airports and there's nothing but stuff that's ultra processed, full of wheat, full of gluten, full of dairy. And that's something you want to try and mitigate. Think of it as a 28-day reset. Think of it as your gift to your body to just give it time to heal, because what's happening is when you've got chronic inflammation, right, all of the body's energy is literally going towards dealing with that inflammation. When you dampen down that inflammation, now you've got time to heal. The body has energy to heal, and you'll start to see that manifest itself in a reduction of your symptoms for your hemorrhoids. Now, one thing that I covered briefly earlier is food intolerances. Many of us are unaware of the fact that we have food intolerances. Now, again, as part of a low inflammation diet, I would recommend that you cut out any gluten products. I would recommend that you cut out any dairy products. There's so many alternatives now in the marketplace. You can get lactose-free milk, you can get goat's milk, which is what I consume generally. You can get all of the different milks, alternatives, almonds, soya. It's really not difficult anymore to remove dairy from your diet. Gluten also, go with gluten-free alternatives, or just eliminate grains altogether during the course of this. But if you suspect you might have food intolerances, which are way more common than people think, you can online get a test that's called an IgG test. And what that is you order this test and you at home take a little prick of blood, you put the blood onto a sample, and then what they do is they take that blood back to the laboratory and they put it under a microscope and they start introducing these different food particles, and they'll test over 200 or 300 types of food. And if that blood thickens, it means it's having an autoimmune response. And they'll send you back a very clear chart of what you can eat and the level of reaction. And anything that's causing a reaction, you want to eliminate that. Now, this doesn't have to be forever, because the gut is constantly relining and rehealing itself. So if you find, for example, that you're intolerant to something like, let's say, for example, gluten, it might be a permanent thing. You could have a fundamental food intolerances or indeed be celiac, but it's probably unlikely. It's probably that your gut is in such an inflamed state, your body's in such a high level of inflammation that you're currently intolerant to that because the gut is inflamed. But if you do a 28 or a prolonged elimination diet like I'm advocating, oftentimes later on you can start eliminating those foods back, or sorry, reintroducing those foods back into your diet. So this isn't a permanent thing. It's just about giving your body that reset, addressing the root cause, like I was saying earlier in the video. The next thing is track relief. So how do you know something's working? Short answer is you're going to feel better. You're going to start to feel more energy, less symptoms, relief ultimately from your hemorrhoid problems. So the role of gut health, as I touched on earlier, cannot be overstated, right? And the more pro-inflammation foods that we eat and the more anti-inflammation foods that we consume, the better our gut health is going to be, which means we're going to digest food better, our microorganism population is going to be healthier, so we're going to have a better mood, better energy. It's just all around beneficial. So the final thing then is the secondary benefits, okay? So the primary cause of this is the role in reducing inflammation and getting rid of your hemorrhoids naturally without surgery. But there are also so many secondary benefits. If you do this low inflammation diet, right, you're going to start to see improvements in your skin. You're going to start to see improvements in your energy. You're going to start to see improvements in your sleep. You're going to start to see improvements in your mindset, in your concentration, because when you're in a state of high inflammation, think of it, your body is literally on fire, and that's causing all downstream ailments like hemorrhoids, okay? So it's a fundamental part of looking at addressing the root cause of your hemorrhoids to reduce inflammation. And in later videos in the sequence, we'll talk about how sleep impacts it, how just identifying different stressors in your life can impact it. But if you want to look at getting real relief quickly from your hemorrhoids naturally, and something that you can do at home, click on the link below and download our free guide where we give you our full pressure reset protocol, which will show you how we've helped many people reduce the symptom of their hemorrhoids by reducing pressure and getting almost instant relief. And it's free. Just click on the link below and you can watch the guide. Hope you enjoyed that video. I'm Stephen from the Hemorrhoid Academy.